He survived as a hostage in the jungles of Sulu for a year and a half, at the hands of the Philippines' most brutal kidnappers.
I have this feeling every day that I might be killed.
Baker Atyani escaped. He now returns to the Philippines, where Abu Sayyaf is threatening more executions. Just as international terror group ISIS announces the Philippines is its new base in Asia. Abu Sayyaf, a notorious group of fighters who kidnap for money and butcher when no one pays.
We will do something terrible against this captive.
Their fight is for an autonomous Islamic state, but it's also become a multi-million-dollar kidnapping business. Baker Atyani is a former hostage, an ordeal he's tried to forget.
I was ready to fight, and if they will kill me while I'm fighting, better than just to sit in front of the camera and they chop off my head.
This renowned international journalist from Jordan knows about Islamic extremism. He was the last reporter to interview Osama bin Laden before 9/11. He goes on to report on conflicts across Asia and the Middle East. Until in 2012, when he is kidnapped while filming a documentary in the Philippines. Coming back here is a brave step.
It's now almost 3 years, and I'm back again to Manila. And I want to know why all of this is still happening, why they are still kidnapping, why no one is really taking a serious action. 3 years ago, when I entered my room, it was even very difficult to open my suitcase. It's like you're opening a suitcase of all the memories that you have missed for the past almost year and a half. But the worst thing I felt on that day, when I entered the hotel, when I went to the washroom, it was really shocking for me to see myself on that day. I didn't know who's this person who's in front of the mirror. It took me a while to recognize, yeah, this is me. And this made me hate them the most.
Baker comes to the Philippines in 2012 to interview one of Abu Sayyaf's leaders in the mountains of Sulu. But it's a trap.
We kept waiting, and I started telling my cameraman, look, this is where you need to put the camera. This is how we need to do the interview setup. This is how it's gonna be. Meanwhile, a guy came who speaks English. His name Abu Rami. He is their now spokesman. He said, brother, you are our hostage. I told him, are you kidding me? You're telling me brother, and then I'm a hostage? How come? I think you are really joking. Then he said, no, this is how it is.
Abu Rami will become a major figure in Abu Sayyaf's hostage-taking over the coming years.
Journalist Baker Atyani and his camera crew are in the hands of the Abu Sayyaf group, or the ASG.
On the second day of my kidnapping, they took me half an hour far away from the camp, and they asked me to call my boss. And he picked up the phone. I told him, I've been kidnapped. He said, what do they want? I told him they want $3 million.
The kidnappers find the number for his father and send him a text. Baker was held in the Sulu archipelago in southern Philippines, where the Abu Sayyaf Badlands stretch from Tawi-Tawi to Mindanao. Muslim groups in the Philippines have fought for an autonomous Islamic state in this mainly Catholic country for decades. In 2016, the new president, Rodrigo Duterte, tells them, come to the peace table or face the consequences.
We cannot win this war by violence. It is not really the way to civilization.
Chairman Murad Ibrahim, the leader of the Islamic Liberation Front, promises to sign up. And it's hoped Nur Muswari from the National Liberation Front will do the same. But Abu Sayyaf, who broke away from Muswari's group in the 90s, is refusing, leaving many asking if its main motivation is still religious autonomy or really about money. Baker heads to Mindanao.
I'm worried. Honestly, I'm worried because it's still not a safe place. Still, the South, Mindanao, is not really a safe place.
The sight of the jungle brings it all flooding back.
No one was allowed to speak to me, and they were just pushing the food inside the hut and going. It was one of the most difficult moments really I have faced. 3 months alone, not talking to anyone. The only thing you develop there, you befriend yourself. So you start talking to yourself. You start making stories, and endless stories, that you keep repeating them and you don't want them to end.
Recent clashes between government forces and the rebels have left dozens dead. Baker's come to Samal Island, where Abu Sayyaf launched one of its most audacious attacks hundreds of miles from their base, with help, he suspects, from local people.
We are still far away from them. It's like more than 500 miles from Samal Island, but still they were able to make it, to come here with their guns and to kidnap, which tells you no way that they have done it without an external help. Those who are sitting outside the jungle, choosing for them the target and giving them the tips. And then based on that, all of this happens. You saw this guy?
Yeah, I saw that guy, but I don't know his name.
Filipina Maritas Floor was one of those abducted from the island.
Do you know
Abu
this?
Rami?
This is Abu Rami, exactly.
Yeah, he is banned.
This is
even
Ben.
even he is covered. I can still identify
He is famous
him.
with his gun, no?
Ben would prove to be the most brutal, and Maritas feared he would murder her. She was kidnapped from a yacht in the marina with her Canadian fiancé Robert Hall, and wants to show Baker where it happened. But the marina does not want the publicity.
I hope they will let us in. Let's wait and see what they will say, but it's really... You can see how quiet is the place. Still, they were able to get into the resort and to do everything and to leave, which tells you there is no security, actually. There's no security at all in this place, at all.
With the entrance firmly shut, the cameraman flies a drone over the marina to be Maritas' eyes.
So this is the yacht club.
She and Robert are grabbed at gunpoint with another Canadian called John Ridsdal, and the marina's manager, a Norwegian called Jordan Sekingstad.
We stayed here. We stayed here in the second row. We heard the guys banging. So when Robert turned on the light, so they just went up in the boat and they dragged us out.
The marina security cameras capture their terrifying abduction, but nobody comes to their rescue. Robert and Maritas are seen surrounded by fighters being forced to climb the gangway at gunpoint. The second camera shows one abductor pushing his weapon into Robert's back. He recoils as Maritas hangs onto his arm.
Robert asked them, "What do you want? What do you want?" They said, "Money, money, money." So Robert said, "I don't have any money. I just have only little bit of money in my pocket or in my wallet." But they still keep Robert, dragging Robert and me. And one of the guy poked his gun in Robert's head, and then Robert was being collapsed and he was bloody.
So there was no security at all? You didn't notice any security?
Yeah, I was wondering why is it that there was no security guards during that time. And I haven't seen any guys or any person.
You felt that they know the place when they were like taking you around?
When I was in the jungle already, they told me that some of the guys went to the clubhouse and looking for somebody.
Mauritius and the others are taken to Sulu, where she is held hostage for 9 months.
You've spent there almost 9 months. What can you say about them?
What can I say about those guys?
Yes.
So they are the guys that they don't have brains. So of course they are criminals.
I am appealing to the Canadian government, to the Philippine government, to the President Noynoy Aquino.
John Ridsdale is the weaker of the hostages, so he's picked off first with a deadline set for his execution if no ransom is paid.
Now, we will give a warning for 1 month preparation for the families to meet the demand.
To the Canadian Prime Minister and the Canadian people in the world, please do what's needed to meet their demands.
They were hoping, they are still waiting for the new Prime Minister.
Canada condemns the brutality of the hostage takers.
So when they said that their Prime Minister is Justin, Robert and John, they were very optimistic. They said, oh, probably this guy gonna help us. He was a nice guy. So they are still hopeful that they gonna save Robert's life and John's life.
Soon after Baker was kidnapped in 2012, the TV channel he works for tries to pay his ransom.
I am asking you what to do because we want this to finish as soon as possible.
You can suggest that to your to your government.
We are not government. We are a small company.
So you should supposed to need help for your government on how to process that money.
First time they have demanded $3 million, then they have said $1 million. And then after that, I don't know what was the figure. I know one thing, that once there was some money sent through the government of Philippines, and it was handed over to the police, the unit that is responsible for the kidnapping, anti-kidnapping group. But we don't know where the money went after that. The money never reached the group, and I was never released.
Furious, his kidnappers cut off all channels of communication. He takes drastic action.
I told them I'm going for a hunger strike, and I did it.
He is so weak, the fighters bring in a nurse to tend to him.
While she was giving me the trips, because I couldn't walk and stand at that time, she was crying. I told her, what's happening? She said, I'm like you. I'm a hostage. I've been kidnapped. And I am in this situation for the past 5 or 6 years. Whenever they want me, I have to come. Otherwise, my family is in danger.
The kidnappers need Baker alive, so try to break his resolve.
During these 3 weeks, they brought for me a burger. And for me to see a burger at that time, it was something coming from paradise. And I start looking at the burgers. My freedom or this burger? No, I'm not gonna take it. And I pushed it away. And I've succeeded. They allowed me to speak to the negotiator, and I have told him I want to plan now to escape.
In the camp where Mauritius is held, the deadline for John Ridsdale's execution is fast approaching. Journalist Baker Atyani has returned to the Philippines 3 years after he escaped from the country's most notorious kidnappers, who have since turned kidnapping into a lucrative industry.
I think this shameless in Sulu should be stopped. People are dying, and others are getting benefit out of this situation.
He's come to Mindanao in the south to talk to another hostage who was taken with 2 Canadians and a Norwegian.
I am appealing to the Canadian government.
Mauritius Floor says she pleaded for the life of John Ridsdale, the weakest member of their group, who they are threatening to behead.
He told me that, Tess, you are such a big help for us, and you are the reason why we are alive. Because actually it's just like I am still negotiating, because they were keep telling me, Tess, you need to explain with them that the money that they are asking, it's impossible. It's ridiculous.
People in the world, please do what's needed to meet their demands.
No money arrives. John Ridsdale, is beheaded. The group announces his execution by dumping his head in a plastic bag in Hollow City.
After they were murdered, John, Robert, he was very, he felt bad because he always kept telling me that he was being abandoned by his government. Sometimes I keep asking him, are you still optimistic? And then sometimes he said yes. He's always keep hoping that probably we're gonna risk you tonight. We need to prepare your things. Probably we're gonna go home tonight. Probably we will be sleeping in a nice hotel.
Now there is a new deadline. Robert Hall, Marita's fiancé, is to be executed in 6 weeks.
The lesson is clear. John Ridsdale has been beheaded.
To the Canadian government, I'm told to tell you to meet the demand. I don't know what you're doing, but you're not doing anything for us. John is being sacrificed. His family has been decimated, and I'm not sure why and what you're waiting for.
If Hall thinks this might swing his new government to pay for his own release, he is wrong.
Canada does not and will not pay ransom to terrorists.
Hall is made to wear an orange shirt.
When they were being given an orange shirt, that was the time that it's very hard for us because I saw a video that if they were given an orange shirt, it's just like they are killing somebody. But Robert asked me, why is it that we need to wear an orange shirt? And Ben said that that is just only for the video. But Robert told me that probably they're gonna kill us because we've been given an orange shirt. Robert said, I think to do something because I don't want these guys gonna kill me. That they were making a video and you can watch forever and also with my family. So he was thinking that he can end his life.
2 weeks after the deadline, Robert is taken away from camp.
Were you aware there that about what happened to Robert?
They just brought Robert away from me, and after that there was a guy said that because have you seen that they have an action like that, so it means it's dead.
Do. Yeah,
so,
they used to use the same sword.
Yeah. So after they murdered Robert, Mujil told me that Robert is already dead. You will be the next. And after that, I saw Ben.
Ben, again, one of the
because he was
the main kidnappers, and he's the one who beheaded.
Yeah, he was the one
Canadians.
behead John and behead Robert. After that, I told him, in Tagalog, so masaya ka na? So it means, are you happy? Because of course, I was asking him because it's just like he was happy killing somebody. So I asked him, so are you happy? So he just smiled.
When I saw the video of beheading the 2 Canadians, which I really feel sorry for them, I know the guy who did it. I know the guy who was carrying the machete and he beheaded them. He was part of my holders. I know him very well. His name is Ben. He used to work as a truck driver in Malaysia. He was into drugs, a thug. All of a sudden, he became an ASG fighter. And he's the one who beheaded them. So when I saw this beheading, and I know the guy, I felt really, first of all, I'm lucky that I'm still alive. I didn't face the same. And I think someone should really someone should be really serious to stop all of this. How are you doing, John? You good?
Mauritius was eventually released after 9 months in captivity. But she still fears Abu Sayyaf will come back for her. So she keeps her son, John, by her side.
I know it was not an easy to see your mom in the video, but what was your feeling at that moment?
I was scared because I've heard about bad news about Abu Sayyaf, that they are beheading lots of people. So I was scared. I go to church, I pray, because I can still believe that my mom had been abducted.
Okay.
Talking to John reminds Baker of what his own son went through.
تفضل طارق.
So he calls him.
كيف حالك طارق؟
الحمد لله.
كيف كانت اليوم المدرسة؟
Tarek was just 7 when the kidnappers messaged him on Facebook.
ما شاء الله عليك.
هسه أنت وين؟
أنا في الفلبين حبيبي.
دير بالك على حالك عشان تعرف هذيك المرة انخطفت وكانوا يبعثوا لي رسالات على الفيسبوك إنه بدهم مصاري لازم عشان يقتلوه.
طبعا بابا عندهم أولاد ووضعهم يحرم يعني سيء.
One kidnapper who stands out in Baker's mind is Abu Rami. So he arranges to meet a journalist in Kuala Lumpur who has spoken to Abu Rami a number of times. Or at least he thinks he has.
I interviewed Abu Rami a month ago.
Okay.
Just want to find out whether this Abu Rami is the Abu Rami that who was your captor when you were in Holo.
Let me listen.
Hello? Hi, Abu Rami. Philip here. Yes, hello? Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, I'm doing a story on the hostages. I just need to ask you a few questions. Okay, no problem.
Okay. How come you can recognize his voice?
I mean, I know his voice. I know his voice.
In an earlier call, Abu Rami had put one of 5 Malaysian sailors on the phone who had been abducted from their boat off the coast of Sabah in Borneo in July 2016.
Minta tolong keluarga Malaysia sama-sama dengan Tokyo tak bantu di sini supaya diselamatkan kami secepat mungkin. Kami nak tahan sama-sama semua, satu-satu semua. Mana-mana tak larat lemah apa semua, maka pun tidak. Mana lagi ditunggu apa semua. Mana lagi orang mau tembak, berperang. Kami tak tahanlah. Kita tolong betul.
Philip asks Abu Rami how much money it will take to free them.
I asked how much that they can afford. They said that they cannot afford 100 million. I said that no, it can't be less than 100 million pesos.
I think the tricky part is the delivery. You can agree to negotiations, but you really need people who are familiar with Holo and the threats.
Negotiating on their behalf there. You know?
In terms of the Malaysian, I think the Malaysian policy now is they don't want to negotiate.
In Tawau in Borneo, the lives of the sailors' families have been in limbo since they were abducted. The kidnappers keep calling to demand a huge ransom.
Dia bilang kalau dalam masa 4 hari tidak ada, orang akan pancung. Saya bilang tolonglah, janganlah kamu buat macam itu. Kita ini sama-sama Muslim.
With no way of raising such a large amount of money, they need someone to reason with the kidnappers. Baker meets Jesus Dureza, Duterte's peace secretary.
How are you, sir?
Hello, sir. How are you?
Are you coming back again to the mountains and get kidnapped again? Oh.
He asks if the peace secretary is negotiating with Abu Sayyaf.
Do you think at any stage they can be part of these efforts of peace?
Every time they ask me, are you willing to negotiate with them? Yes, I'm willing to negotiate in the context of saving lives, as I have been doing.
But from my experience, I found that actually it's not only Abu Sayyaf group, it is those who actually support them, use them, finance them somehow. Those who are like outside the jungles.
We recognize already even the complicity and the involvement of people who are in government, holding government positions in the local government, even members of the security forces of the government who are also partaking of the bonanza of the ransom. There's a big fiesta whenever they get a ransom, they start distributing this, and then they buy fish already, you know, some would say we buy firearms already. And you know that, you know.
Baker moves on to the fate of the Malaysians and whether their government had been in contact.
So the Malaysians are not in touch with you on this?
No, no. It's the Indonesian that is No,
the Indonesian, they were in touch with you.
Up, yes,
yeah.
on the, because there are still 2 Indonesians there. The Koreans also are in touch with. There's one Korean there now.
There's one Japanese.
Ship captain, a crew captain of a vessel.
Who could really negotiate on their
Well,
behalf?
it's ongoing right now. The effort is ongoing.
Baker asks 3 times, but gets no answer on who is helping the Malaysians. Instead, the peace secretary asks if he will meet with his intelligence officers who are tracking Abu Sayyaf.
You'll be very valuable
I'll be more than happy for that.
source of more tactical information.
Yes.
And he suggests he comes to the latest development in his peace process, a ceremony at the presidential palace later in the week. But Baker is still not convinced that anyone is working on getting the Malaysians out. The longer they are held, the riskier their fate. After his escape from Abu Sayyaf, Baker Atyani is back in the Philippines to try and help those now held by this brutal terrorist group. The country's top peace negotiator can't tell him if anyone is negotiating for 5 Malaysian hostages. So he decides to travel to their home in Tawau in Borneo to talk to their families.
And sometimes they stay in a hut like this, see?
Baker tells them about his own captivity.
They torture you when
You know, their interest is money. So they don't care. You are a young man, you are old man, you are Muslim, you are not. They don't care. They care about one thing, money.
Haryanti binti Hamsi is the wife of Mohammed Ridwan, the tugboat captain. She says they've been begging for money from their neighbors, but it's nowhere near the amount demanded during the latest phone call from the kidnappers.
And the company is saying nothing now after what happened? They are not trying to help?
Dia tak cakap apa-apa juga, cuma dia cakap dia tengah urus lah. Itu sih. Macam perasaan memang macam tak dapat dibayangkan lah. Kita yang tengok sendiri gini. Biasa tengok dalam TV ya orang tangkap sekarang sendiri yang kena memang salah.
3 tahun. Muhammad Jumadil, ini Muhammad Rizwan, husband dia.
Your husband.
Gustia binti Sultan's husband is the chief engineer on the tugboat. He called her from captivity 2 weeks ago.
How he was strong, he was...
Memang dia cakap, masa dia bertelepon tu suara dia macam tidak berapa macam biasa lah, memang ada rumah sakit. Tapi sekali tu pas sekali dicakap tanya dia, biasalah tidak berapa sehat sebab diorang di sana kadang-kadang makan, kadang-kadang tidak.
Dia telepon baru kami tahu, oh diorang masih hidup. Tapi dalam masa 2 minggu ni tiada telepon, kami pun yang kami bilang hidup kah, mati kah. Kami cuma berdoa supaya mereka semua di sana selamat.
Kalau malam mencari, tanya kenapa Yaya belum balik. Jadi tidak tahu apa sudah mau jawab. Kalau anak tanya pun tidak tahu apa sudah kita mau jawab.
The family has not heard from the Malaysian government. It was a different scenario when professional Malaysians, Bernard Ten and Tien Nhuk Fun, were abducted.
Memang orang bisnes memang orang kaya orang lawat. Tapi kami ni hanya sebagai rakyat biasa.
I know.
Jangan datang lawat kami.
They are businessmen, I know.
quite rich, so.
When we met now the Sultan family, it is very clear. They kidnapped poor people and they want money from poor people. I don't know how this family can collect this ransom they are asking for. No way, I believe, neither their company or the government of Malaysia can help them in any way. They are really in a very difficult situation.
Baker lands back in Manila to breaking news. Nur Miswari, leader of the National Liberation Front, has come to the capital to talk peace.
Peace is of most most vital humanitarian value to us.
It's a breakthrough, but is in stark contrast to Abu Sayyaf's position. The group rakes in more than $7.5 million in 2016. But such big business is attracting an even more sinister force to infiltrate its ranks. ISIS names this Abu Sayyaf fighter, Isnilon Hapilon, as its leader in Asia. A video is released declaring the group is now ramping up its presence across Asia, with its main base to be in the Philippines. In it, fighters from Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines pledge their allegiance to ISIS.
Berangkatlah kalian ke bumi Filipina, bergabung dengan khilafah di sana. Dan sekiranya kalian tidak mampu, karena usia kalian yang semakin tua, hantarlah anak-anak kalian ke sana.
Ang kahulihan kong salita sa inyo, kapatid ko, iniiwan ko sa inyo ang gantimpala ng isang mujahid kapag siya ay nakapatay ng kafir. Ang mapanlinlang na taktika ng bagong halal na tagut ng Pilipinas, si Duterte, sumpain siya ng Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
The presence of ISIS on Philippine soil shifts the president's opinion of Abu Sayyaf's motivation.
Ang Abu Sayyaf no longer hungers for independence of Mindanao. They are no longer hungry for autonomy. They are hungry for a fight to establish a caliphate in Southeast Asia. Caliphate is a kingdom for Muslims.
Hello. Hi. How are you doing?
I feel like I know you.
Maria Ressa has written extensively on the rise of jihadists in Asia and had to negotiate the release of her own journalists who were captured by the group.
What do you think? This guy, they call him now Abu Abdullah Filipini.
Isnilon Hapilon.
Yeah, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
They
are in Basilan, isn't it?
He's in Basilan, but he's gone back and forth, right? And Basilan used to be headed by another guy, and now him coming in and establishing there is an interesting development. Why is this